Hey everyone, how's it going? Thanks so much for tuning in. For today's video, we're going to be taking an in-depth look into the Chevrolet Colorado ZR2. In this review, we're going to take the truck off-roading on a dirt course, go rock climbing, and compare it all to how it behaves on the open road. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. The 2017 ZR2 is Chevrolet's new performance halo for the Colorado lineup. It combines the nimbleness and maneuverability of a mid-size pickup with a host of class-exclusive off-road features that allow it to climb, jump, and traverse over just about anything you throw at it. After 2 days of testing, the thing that stood out the most to me was just how well it blended capability and livability. A lot of it boils down to the suspension, which sees some significant upgrades over a Colorado Z71. Including the first off-road application of Multimatic's Dynamic Suspension Spool Valve or DSSV dampers. The exterior design closely mirrors that of the original concept vehicle first shown back in 2014. It's aggressive yet highly functional, as it focuses on improving drivability over mud, sand, and rock. For starters, the front and rear tracks span 65.9 inches, that's 3.5 inches wider than a Colorado Z71. The suspension also sits about 2 inches higher. Ground clearance when measured at the rear shocks is now 8.9 inches. This gives the wheels a greater range of travel, up to 8.6 inches in front and 10 inches in the rear, as well as improved stability when navigating rough terrain. On top of that, it's able to ford through a body of water up to 26 inches deep. In an effort to improve tire clearance up front, the ZR2 adopts a unique front bumper with tapered edges that increase the approach angle from 17.6 degrees to 30 degrees. The departure and breakover angles measure 23.5 degrees, increased from 22.3 and 19.7 degrees respectively. Styling changes in addition to the front bumper include a unique grille and hood, flare wheelhouse moldings to help cover the large 31-inch Goodyear Duratrac off-road tires, ZR2 specific 17x8-inch aluminum wheels, a different rear bumper that eliminates the step-up platforms, and steel tube rocker guards to protect the body sides when rock climbing. Protecting the vital underside components are a pair of aluminum skid plates, one for the radiator and oil pan, the other for the transfer case. My favorite optional feature is the bed-mounted spare tire carrier. Of course, you lose some space with it, but it does keep the spare out of harm's way and improves the departure angle a bit. Plus, it looks awesome. That should be enough of a reason to get it. A spray-in bed liner is standard, as is a damped, easy-open tailgate. Pricing for the ZR2 begins at $40,995 for a long bed extended cab. A short bed crew cab begins at $42,620. Both MSRPs include a $940 destination fee. Its closest competitors are the Nissan Frontier Pro 4X and the Toyota Tacoma TRD Pro. While pretty well equipped from the get-go, there are some additional options to consider as well, such as a 7-speaker Bose premium audio system, a full-length black vinyl floor instead of carpet, and a number of gear-on accessories for more effective cargo management out back. Leather upholstery with heated front seats is standard. Curb weight for a ZR2 crew cab is 4,734 pounds when equipped with the V6, or 4,985 pounds with the available Duramax diesel. Even with all the off-roading upgrades, which does add quite a bit of weight over a regular Colorado, the ZR2 is still able to tow up to 5,000 pounds and haul up to 1,100 pounds. A trailering package is included as standard equipment, along with an integrated trailer brake controller and hill descent control. The general design of the ZR2's suspension is similar to a Colorado Z71, including the independent coilover shocks in front and the solid rear axle with semi-elliptic 2-stage multi-leaf springs. However, most everything has been changed or modified to create a truck that's just as happy racing around a dirt track in the desert as it is taking a long road trip. It's the only truck in its class to come standard with Eaton electronic locking front and rear differentials. With Chevrolet's AutoTrac 2-speed transfer case, you can select between 2 high, auto 4-wheel drive, 4 high, or 4 low. Add in the locking differentials and you have up to 9 different driving configurations. In order to lock the front differential, you must first lock the rear. Adding icing to the cake is a new off-road mode that alters the response of the analog brakes, as well as the traction and stability control systems, throttle progression, and shift calibrations to give the driver more control and increase the truck's responsiveness when off-road. Suspension changes include new heavy-duty cast iron control arms for additional strength, new heavy-duty steering knuckles, upgraded springs, a wider rear axle, relocated suspension mounting points, and additional reinforcements where applicable. What makes the biggest difference here, though, is the addition of the DSSV dampers. Compared to traditional deflected disc valving, the spool valves control the rate at which the hydraulic fluid flows through the damper more precisely, leading to greater consistency and predictability when it comes to tuning. The main body of the dampers house a piston and an extreme compression spool valve. The middle chamber houses the on-road compression and rebound spool valves. The third chamber functions as a fluid reservoir, separating the pressurized nitrogen from the hydraulic fluid. The front dampers also employ a separate rebound valve, which only comes into play when the suspension approaches full extension. Compared to the DSSV dampers used on the 2014 Camaro Z28, these allow the piston to travel more freely, while increasing hydraulic oil and nitrogen capacity, improving cooling, and most importantly, making room for that third piston-mounted compression spool valve. As the piston moves during normal driving, oil is forced into the middle chamber between the two on-road spool valves through special orifices in the body. This provides the damping needed for everyday driving. When the piston is compressed outside of its normal range, the third spool valve provides extra damping to account for high displacement wheel movement and high impact compression cycles. This means that the damper is not only velocity sensitive, but position sensitive as well. By having different damping characteristics in distinct areas of the piston stroke, Multimatic is able to avoid any kind of compromise when it comes to tuning. Also, due to the flow characteristics of the spool valves, oil viscosity has far less of an impact on performance, so they'll continue to perform as intended even as heat builds up during extended use. When asked about their life expectancy, the folks from Multimatic explained that the inherent design of the spool valves make them far less susceptible to wear, unlike traditional dampers that degrade over time, meaning they should last as long as the truck itself. The ZR2 is offered with two powertrains. A 3.6-liter V6 is standard. While running on regular 87 octane, it develops 308 horsepower at 6,800 RPM and 275 pound-feet of torque at 4,000 RPM, good for a 0 to 60 run of about 6.5 seconds. For an extra $3,500, you can also opt for the 2.8-liter Duramax turbo diesel inline 4-cylinder, which develops 181 horsepower at 3,400 RPM and 369 pound-feet of torque at 2,000 RPM. As far as transmissions, the V6 is paired to an 8-speed auto, while the diesel is paired to a 6-speed auto. Both offer electronic range select and a 3.42 final drive. The only drawback is that, unlike the Frontier and Tacoma, no manual transmission is offered. With the diesel, expect a 0 to 60 run to take about 9 seconds. While that's obviously slower than the V6, it doesn't really matter in this case, as the primary reason to opt for the diesel is all of the extra low-end torque you get. It really comes in handy with towing and rock climbing. After comparing them back to back, I believe the diesel is a perfect match for what the ZR2 is all about. The only area it didn't perform as well as the V6 was racing around the dirt track, where throttle response and overall power was key in hustling it through the corners. The diesel is constructed using an iron block and an aluminum head with dual overhead camshafts, 4 valves per cylinder, common rail direct fuel injection, and a compression ratio of 16.5 to 1. Inside, there's forged steel connecting rods, a forged steel crankshaft, piston cooling jets, and a dedicated oiling system for the turbocharger. To keep NVH levels low, there's a vibration damper that's synced to the transmission. It helps cancel out the engine's torsional vibrations, leading to impressive smoothness and reduced interior noise. It's so quiet that you'll find it hard to believe that you're actually driving a diesel. Fuel economy ratings for a diesel-powered ZR2 range between 19 miles per gallon in the city and 22 miles per gallon on the highway. My average was about 21 miles per gallon, which falls right in line with EPA estimates. The V6 returns slightly lower ratings of 16, 18, and 17 miles per gallon respectively, but it includes cylinder deactivation, which shuts down 2 cylinders under light loads to help conserve fuel. The Duramax is able to run on either ultra-low sulfur diesel fuel or B20 biodiesel. Thanks to a number of emissions control systems, including but not limited to cooled exhaust gas recirculation, the engine is claimed to be the cleanest diesel truck engine ever produced by General Motors. All Colorados carry a 21-gallon fuel tank. If you'd like to learn more about the current generation Colorado and Canyon, including construction, a more in-depth look at the available features, interior space, and more, I've included some links in the description box below. Well everyone, I hope you enjoyed the in-depth look at the Chevrolet Colorado ZR2. Be sure to stay tuned next time, leave a like and subscribe today, there's always a lot more where that came from. Take care everyone.